Today I have a full face fall makeup tutorial. That was hard to say. I am doing this look because one of my Instagram followers, Zoe, hello Zoe, how are you? Asked if I could recreate a look that I had done on a client, and I loved that idea. I really like how the look came out on her, and I realized I've never really done a client look recreation on myself. So I decided to do that for you guys today. Plus it's very fall appropriate, and I think it's kind of universally flattering no matter what eye color or skin tone you have. So if you would like to see how to recreate this look, grab your beverage of choice and just keep watching. As always, I have my trusty beverage. Today I am drinking Spindrift. I love fancy waters, like sparkling waters. Spindrift is a sparkling water that has real fruit juice in it, but then I put raspberries in it because I'm real fancy. I always do my eye makeup first. That is to minimize cleanup, and we can perfect our outside corner and everything with a makeup wipe. So before I do any look ever, I use an eye primer. I always use this eye primer, Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. And I use the Eden one because it's got some concealing properties to it. This is me grabbing a mirror. I use Eden because it has some concealing properties, so it's going to cancel out like the veins and discoloration I have on my eyelids so that we see the shadow's true color, it doesn't crease, and it lasts much longer. So I always say there's really no point in doing eye makeup if you're not going to use an eye primer. I know some people like to use concealer, which is fine, but I find most of the time the concealer is a little sticky, and you have to set it with a powder or a nude eyeshadow anyways. I don't find that I have to do that with the Urban Decay Primer Potion, so do what you will, but you might be able to tell I'm kind of lazy and I do things to minimize work later. So the eyeshadow palette I use to create her look is from Limelight by Alcone. This is their Feeling is Neutral palette. It has a ton of shadows, but I'll show you just the ones that we are going to use. You obviously don't need this entire palette unless you like to experiment with looks. But we're going to start out with the color One Night Sand, and that's going to be part of our transition color. I kind of like to make my own with this palette, so I'm going to grab that one first and work that into the crease. Now that shadow is a nice transition color, but I like my transition color to be a little bit warmer and more rosy. So I'm going to grab another color. I believe that this is number 33. I think it's called Coral of the Story, but I'll link it below, of course. But mixing these two just makes like the perfect warm transition color. So I'm just going over that One Night Sand color. I think it's also number 26 if you want to look at the eyeshadows by numbers. Oh, yeah. Okay, now I'm grabbing Brownie Points, which is a really deep, rich, like warm espresso brown color. I'm going to use a blending brush just at the very tip of the bristles in there. This entire palette, every shadow in here is so pigmented, like you'll cry. It's the most pigmented eyeshadow I've ever worked with, so please be careful. I am going to place this on the outer corner of the eye. As you can see, I am barely touching my skin, and there is a ton of pigment being deposited. I personally love that. You're going to get more for your money, but just beware, it is sometimes overwhelming if you've not worked with pro formula shadows like this that are very pigment rich. Okay, now we are ready for the most coppery color in this, and it is a color called Antique Bar. It is one of the only shimmery colors in this palette. I love it. I think it's just the most beautiful, warm, coppery bronze, and it looks so pretty on so many eye colors. So I'm taking a flat brush. I'm going to just press that all over the lid. This is a smokier look, so you don't really need to worry about the lid getting dark. This isn't really a light to dark fade. It is more of an all over dark eye look. And I am using a pressing or a dabbing motion. I teach that a lot in my makeup lessons, not to sweep the color around, because then you're just moving pigment and you're not laying down and building it up. So again, just more of a dabbing or even like a pressing motion will build pigment up quickly. So I'm bringing it over sort of the edge of that dark brownie points, but I'm not covering it up entirely, just kind of bringing it to meet it. Okay, at this point I want to make sure that my top edge is really nice and smooth. I don't want any hard edges. That's never something you really want in makeup. So I'm going to grab this color, which kind of looks weird. It's called Pineapple of My Eye, which is a stupid name, but it's really just like a light, like buttercream. That's what I would have called it. So I'm taking that on that original crease brush, and I am just going over this very top edge. This is a really easy way to soften out edges by using kind of a neutral that's close to your skin tone, and it will make this top edge look more perfect and blended and nicely faded upwards. So now we are going to grab our makeup wipe, and we're going to use the edge of it just to clean up that outer edge. So I got some shadow in there. You can also wrap it around your finger like this and just kind of use this to clean up underneath. This is why we haven't done any concealer under our eyes or foundation. We would have just wiped it all away anyways. So as you can see, this outer edge looks way more sharp and perfect. That's not because we did it that way, it's because we faked it with a makeup wipe. Okay, so I do want this to be an overall bronze smoky look, but I want to add more of like a pop of shimmer to the center of the lid. I think that really helps because your iris is in the center of your eye, so it draws light to the center part of your eye. Okay, I grabbed the Lorac Unzipped palette. It looks like this. This is the original. There's two. There's regular and then Unzipped Gold. This is the more rosy toned one. Really, really pretty. Love this palette. So I'm going to grab the color Unreal. Frickin' Unreal. I think that's a Nicholas Megalis quote. So I'm going to use my finger for this. Use your ring finger. The size, the finger pad size of your ring finger is about perfect anyways for just tapping right in the center, keeping it lower. And this is just going to add some subtle extra shimmer. But because this is like a rose gold color, it complements the coppery shades. It doesn't look frosty or ashy when placed over the colors we've already laid down. Okay, so I used pencil liner for this look. I am going to show you guys one that I've been trying out lately. I got it from Pixie. They sent it to me and I am loving it. It is their Endless Silky Eye Pen, and the color is called, how do you think? Graphic Grayish. I don't get a gray tone much from this. To me, it's more of like a deep brown, which I love. So I am going to just line my top lash line and we're going to smudge it out and kind of bring it up with a brush. This really is what it says. It is silky. It is one of the smoothest applying liners, pencil liners I've tried. There's no skipping or dragging. And if you have mature eyelids, meaning you have some wrinkles and texture, you would really like this because it's going to glide right across. It's not going to skip or drag at all. I already said that. Okay, now before it sets, I'm going to dip my angled liner brush into this color. I don't know what it's called actually, but it's the black, the matte black in this palette. I haven't had this palette very long, so I don't know all the names, but what I do know is that I love it, and it's the most pigmented shadow I've used. Loracs are a close second, but that's why. It has joined the ranks in my freelance kit. So I'm just going over the liner with this black shadow. That's to intensify it, but also I'm going to kind of bring it up at the outer corner to create a slight wing. Any extra lift you can create is always a good thing. So we are done with the shadows. Sometimes I wait till the end to do mascara because it gets a little powder fallout on it, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it just because I want to like complete our eyes before we move on. I'm going to use another Limelight product here. This is their Perfect Mascara. This is a fiber mascara, but the fibers are already infused. So I like to twist it when I pull it out of its container to make sure like the fibers get really like wrapped around the brush, but they're not crazy fibers. Like they're not spiky all over. I don't even really see them on this brush here. So it's a pretty user-friendly fiber mascara. By the way, while we do this, because there's really no special tips, I guess, I do sort of roll my mascara one. I will tell you guys that I did join Limelight, so the links below, I will make money on them if you choose to purchase, or if you know someone that sells Limelight, you can totally buy from them too. But I just want you guys to know and be upfront about that. I was already using a lot of their formulas in my kit, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me. But I just want you guys to always know that I'm not trying to sell you things. That's never my goal. My goal is to show you how to use things, give you ideas, and give you honest reviews. So I'm not going to use products that I don't like. If you see products here, unless it's like a first impressions, I like it. So that's one of my eyelashes. So the products I'm using are ones that I really like from them. If you want to buy them, that's great. But if you don't, or you want to buy them from someone else, that's great too. Seriously, doesn't hurt my feelings. But I like this mascara. It's a fiber mascara, but a non-crazy looking one. And it's easy to build. One of the few mascaras that looks better with a second coat. I normally don't feel that way. I think most mascaras get, oh gosh. Now I have eyeshadow on my shirt. I think most mascaras tend to get more clumpy and too spidery when you keep layering. This one somehow looks nicer with multiple coats. So I did one coat for each eye. Now I'm gonna go back and do a second one, which seriously, this is so weird. I never do multiple coats of mascara. And I don't really think this needs it, but I do find that I like the effect of 2 coats. I don't do 3. So I will do lower lash line eyeshadow and mascara, but I'm not going to do that until I'm done with concealer and everything. So we're going to move on. We are done with the eyes for now. On to the rest of this face. So I'm using my RCMA palette. This is the Kevin James Bennett edition. Why is it wet? This is awesome and very well loved, as you can see. So I technically should wear Shinto Zero, and until this palette, that never existed. As you can see, I've used Shinto Zero all up. This is Shinto 1. And Limelight is actually putting out singles of their Botanical Foundation, which is the exact same. It's RCMA Foundation, consumer version. They're making Shinto Zero. I'm so excited. But until then, I actually made my own Shinto Zero by taking these two, Shinto 1 and the White Adjuster. So you know you're pale when you have to use white. So I've got it on this. This is a Blunderful, but you could use a beauty blender, or if you have the Real Techniques Miracle Sponge, really similar shape. It's got the flatter side. I've got the foundation on my hand here, so I'm working off of that. I really love this foundation. I, for the longest time, only used it on clients in my freelance kit, and when I went to New York, which was in September, I didn't want to pack any glass bottle foundations because I was really worried. I was already traveling with my freelance kit. I just didn't want anything to get damaged or broken, so I just took my RCMA single color process foundation, and I just used that the entire trip. And I was kind of like, why don't I use this more? Like, it looks awesome on your skin. It's wax base, but don't let that scare you. That actually means that it's not going to permeate the skin. It's actually just sitting more on top. So it doesn't, soak into fine lines and wrinkles and pores as much. And it's extremely durable. So like, I was walking around in New York in like 90-degree weather. One day I walked 7 miles and I never had my foundation like separating or looking worn away. So I kind of realized when I was there that I need to use it on myself more. There's really only like 2 other liquid foundations that I truly love, but they're super expensive and they don't seem to last as long. So for longevity and coverage, this is, as you can see, full coverage, 50% pigment to vehicle. Vehicle meaning the rest of the stuff. So there's 50% pigment and the rest is botanical based waxes, and it doesn't have fragrance or lanolin or anything like that. Very hypoallergenic, non-comedogenic. So I'm just adding a little bit extra in the places I need it. I don't ever use MAC, but I did get their Pro Longwear Concealer because I was going through my Urban Decay one really fast. My friend also works there, and so I went in to visit her and I thought, yeah, I'll actually buy a MAC concealer. The reason I don't use MAC is because they test on animals. However, I know some of you really like MAC and I probably shouldn't let my views sway you, so I am using the Pro Longwear Concealer in NC20, and I'm going to use this for my under eye area only. So I've flipped this Blunderful sponge around, and I'm just using the pointed end, which is awesome for squishing right up under your eye. This is why we didn't do our lower lash line shadow or mascara, as you can see, because I get that concealer like right up under there. Most people have redness at the lash line, and we want to make sure we conceal that as well as the under eye circles. Okay, so before we set that, I am actually going to grab one of Limelight's concealers because I want to show you how you can use those, even though I don't use those in my under eye area either. So Limelight's concealers are technically Kryolan Derma Color, so these are the most pigmented concealers I've ever used. They're waterproof, and I've tested that. They're totally waterproof. I've like put them on and like splashed my face with water, and like other things will be running, and the concealer is like perfect. So I'm going to use not the lightest shade. This is shade number 2, which is the more yellow-based color. I'm going to take the pointed end, work it into there, and I'm going to use this for a little extra brightening and concealing on my cheekbones because I get melasma here, so I'm going to brighten that up. So I just don't like this right under the eye. It does crease on me, even when I set it with powder. But I really love the full coverage of this. I have a scar here from a zit, covers that completely. So I kind of just used it under the MAC concealer. My nose gets really red, plus I did a pore strip yesterday, so it's still kind of red. So I do like to put it on the nose, where concealer tends to wear way faster for me. This is waterproof, and I won't do that. And a little bit on my chin, which is another area I find gets more red, or I lose coverage throughout the day. I'm going to set with the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. This is really awesome. I really love this for setting the under eye area. I'm going to just put some in the lid. Hold on your sponge. We're going to use that too. I love setting under eye concealer with a damp beauty sponge because it really presses it into the skin without looking just like powder sitting on top. Before, make sure you run your pinky under there, clear any creases out before you set it. Press your translucent setting powder into the skin. I kind of set this entire under eye triangle. Get some more for the other eye. Smooth your crease out. And you can set your other highlight areas with the Laura Mercier too. I don't really bake. Here's my quick opinion on baking. If you have oily skin, it's very beneficial for you. If you are going to be under hot lights on stage, that's what baking was originally intended for. It was for drag performers who are going to be under hot lights performing. If you're going to be photographed, you're going to a nighttime event, you know, it does help for that, but I'm not, and I have dry skin. Okay, now that we've set our under eye area, we can go back under and do any shadow work we wanted to do on the lower lash line. So I'm going to grab our angled brush again, kind kind of wipe it off because it's still got some black shadow on it. So I am going to dip this into that brownie points color. We're going to connect this to the upper lash line. So just kind of go from that outer corner, and I'm gonna bring this in not even halfway, because I'm actually gonna grab a lighter color to go the rest of the way. Okay, so now I'm gonna dip my same angled brush back into our antique bar bronzy color. So if you want to, you can line your waterline. On the client, I did a flesh tone liner because I didn't want her eyes to get too closed in. I have a lot bigger eyeballs though, so I'm actually gonna grab that Pixie silky liner pen and just go into my waterline. Moving on to brows. We are going to use another Pixie product. This is their Endless Brow Pen. The word pen sounds funny because it's a pencil. This is the color medium, and very much like the eyeliner, it is just silky and applies so easily without a lot of effort. And you know, it's not like some brow pencils are kind of hard, almost chalky. This is really easy to apply and build up your brows quickly. Alright, back to our face. It's time to do a little contouring. I pretty much always use the Kevin Aquan Sculpting Powder. This is in a palette. You can buy this in a single pan because this is the best contour color that was ever made. I've tried a lot, and I kind of want to do a whole separate video, bronzer versus contour powder. It's not the same thing, and it doesn't give you the same effect. That might be a little out of control, but still got my sponge here. You can very easily soften the edges with that. I'm using a Real Techniques brush. This is 301, but it's kind of like their flat, dense contour brush. And this palette has a highlight as well. This is the Candlelight powder. I will say this is a pretty subtle highlight. If you like really fleeky highlight, this might not be your favorite, but I like it because it's a very fine, subtle shimmer. It's not gonna photograph crazy. Okay, for blush, grabbing Limelight's blush number 1. I believe it's also called Alive. They have numbers and also like names. So this is a matte blush. It's a very like deep dusty rose, which is kind of like the perfect fall blush color. So I'm just grabbing a Real Techniques blush brush. Again, like the shadows, these are so pigmented, so be careful. I literally just dip a tiny bit of the bristles in and I still tap it off. Okay, in the photo I mixed like 2 different liquid lipsticks, but to simplify it, I'm just going to use a color that was basically the same. I didn't just use this color because I wanted the liquid lip. She was having her photos taken, I wanted longevity, but I'm going to line my lips first with my Savannah Jane waterproof lip liner in Cinnamon and Sugar. This is a more brown shade. I'm going to grab my Savannah Jane lip color in Enchanting. I really love this color. This is more of like a brown nude. Sometimes it looks mauve. But sometimes after I have my lip color on, and especially if it's more of an intense color, I find that I need more blush. Almost always. Okay, I am going to set with my Limelight by Alcone 10 Years Younger spray. This is identical to Urban Decay's All Nighter spray, as well as Skindinavia's. They are all made by the same brand. However, this is 4 fluid ounces for $2 less than the Urban Decay one. Just a little tip for those of you that like to save money. Okay, this is our completed fall makeup tutorial. I loved recreating a look I had done on a client. I don't think I've actually ever done that before, so thank you, Zoe. That's who originally suggested this. Please feel free to comment. If you guys follow me on Instagram I have 2, but okay, let's be real, I have 3. One is my cat's Instagram. So Ivy Savannah is my blogger Instagram. It's where I post a lot of products. And then Ivy Boyd Makeup is more of my artistry one, where I will post client photos. So if you ever see a look on there and you really love it and you want me to recreate it, I can totally do that. I usually remember somehow everything I used, or if it's a bridal trial, I've already written that down. So feel free to suggest other recreations if you especially like a look and you want to know what I used. Thank you guys always for watching. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night or day. The palette that I used to create.
Why are you yelling at people?
First of all, it scared me. I also.
This is my new pink backdrop because I'm special. And I'm sipping on my expensive beverage with my raspberries, everyone. I just want everyone to think I'm fancy.
Jake, now you're yelling in my ear.
Could you do the whole thing like this, Pink?
No, because your beard prickly hurts.
Keep going.
Stop. Jake, I'm above the stool.
Looks like we got a little bit of a problem here.
Jake, get out. Seriously, get out.
Looks like we've got some pee-pee pants going for sure.
Oh my gosh, seriously.
Definitely got some pee-pee pants going.
I want you to take my jacket off and put the bat down and please go get the mail.
There's some rules around here. Cause I'm Negan.
Not even in focus. Someone please help.
Now, I'm a pretty forgiving guy, but Lucille here.
Get away from me!
Lucille likes to play by the rules.
How do you know this so well? We've only watched that episode maybe once.
So maybe if you contour her just right, she'll let you go. So what do you say? You wanna put some foundation on her? You wanna...
I want you to leave! I don't like this!
You know how long it took me to find your leather coat?